morning, all of you. Today we are in a new chapter, that is the two stories about flying, and that is chapter 3 of your English book. And two stories, there is one of them is his first flight, and the second one is like aeroplane. So children, today we shall study or we shall learn from the first flight. How did the bird made his first flight? We shall see it here. Okay, so you see, children. So let's before we enter into the text, let's know a little bit about the author. So Liam O'Flaherty was born on 28 August 1896 in the county Galway, Ireland, and he was an Irish novelist and short story writer and a major figure in the Irish literary renaissance. His works combines brutal naturalism, psychological analysis, poetry, and biting satires with an abiding respect for the Irish people. So, what about the theme of the story, his first flight? Let's know it first here. The theme is that, children, his first flight by Liam O'Flaherty is a magnificent story about the courage and self-confidence. It is a true parable about overcoming fears of life. Fear is the most negative feelings that blocks one's progress. One can conquer it with courage and sincere efforts. So children, his first flight by Liam O'Flaherty tells about the need for courage and self-confidence to overcome fears in life. A young seagull looked desperately at the vast expanse of water that stretches before him. His parents, brothers, and little sisters had flown away and left him alone on the rock. There was no food and he was hungry. He could not fly. Many times he had tried to run forwards to the brink of the ledge and flap his wings, but he was afraid and felt that his wings would not support him. Despite making countless efforts, his parents could not persuade him to make an attempt to fly. He was starving and felt that he would die if he did not get any food. He saw his mother tearing a piece of fish with her beak. When he cried out to her, then what happened, you see? She just screamed back mockingly. Then he saw his mother approaching toward him with food which made him very happy, but she stopped at a distance. He was very hungry, so he dived at the fish. His mother flew upward and he started falling. He was terrified for a moment, but then he realized that he was flying. In this way, he made her first flight. In this way, he made his first flight. So children, this is what about the summary of the story, his first flight. But now, let us enter into the text. So what about the text, children? We shall see it here. Okay, so see, children, his first flight, the young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and sisters had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the edge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of sea stretches down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his hands and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. So children, Seagull means here a bird that is an aquatic bird that lives near the sea and has short legs, long wings, and white and grey feathers. Lash means a narrow horizontal self projecting from a wall or here a cliff. We have to understand, okay? Brink means that is what the bank or kinara understood. The extreme edge of land before a steep slope or a body of water. Expanse, that means a wide continuous area of something. So then what happened, you see? This story is about a seagull. Seagull, a bird, an aquatic bird who is at the stage of life where he has to learn to fly. Unlike his younger brothers and sisters, he is too afraid to fly. When all of them went for flying for the first time near the edge of the sea, all of them except him succeeded. He could not trust his wings. He got terrified by the vast sea and got convinced that he could never fly. As a result, he was ashamed and disheartened and thus went inside the leaves where usually he slept. Next, let's come to next paragraph. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away, he fell to muster up courage to take the plunge which appeared to him so desperate. His father and mother had come around calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him start on his legs unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. He could not move. So children, flapped, F-L-A-P-P-E-D, flap means, and this is of a bird, move its wings up and down when high or preparing to fly. This is what flapped. And muster, M-U-S-T-E-R, muster means gather. Plunge means jump or dive. Shrilly, with a high pitch and piercing voice or shout. And upbraiding means scold. That means what? His parents were scolding. His parents were scolding the bird, the little bird. That means he was a coward and he could not attempt to fly and he was fearing of his life only there. Okay. So his younger siblings managed to take their first flight despite their wings being shorter than his. But he could not summon the courage. He could not summon the courage though he tried so desperately. He was scolded by his parents for not trying again, but he was so afraid that he could not even move. That was 24 hours ago. Since then nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sisters, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had in fact seen his older brother catch his fast herring and devour it, standing on a rock while his parents cried around raising a proud cackle. And all the morning, the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. So children, herring means here a soft, fine sea fish. Devour means eat quickly, yani nigalna. Cackle, laugh in a loud, harsh way. Cowardice, there is lack of bravery. So now he had been alone for a day after he tried because his parents were busy focusing on his siblings. They helped his siblings master the art of flying and diving for food, that is fish. His older siblings even caught his fast fish, which he proudly ate at a rock while his parents celebrated it. That morning, these parents taunted him all the way for being a coward. Next paragraph we'll see, children, here. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his rays that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the lake and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice on him. He saw his two brothers and sisters lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau. Her white breast thrust forward now and again. She tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beaks now and again to wet it. Ascending the sky means, children, the act of rising up through the air. The act of rising up through the air, that is what the ascending the sky. Preening, that means to tidy and clean its feather. That is what preening. Hump means a rounded raised mass of earth or land. And scrap means discard. So dear children, here we see the sun had now risen and he was feeling the heat more than ever because he was empty stomach since the night before. He did not have anything. There was nothing in his belly. He was hungry since the last night and he stepped out of his race and pretended to sleep on one leg to gain the attention of his family. Still, no one noticed him. His siblings were sleeping. His father was cleaning his feathers with his beaks, and his mother was standing on another plateau eating fish while she noticed him. See, the seagull got mad and seeing the face because he was very hungry. He loved to tear away fish and scrape his beaks now and then. Dear children, next we shall enter into the next paragraph. Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. Ga, kal a, she screamed back, that is, derisively, but he kept calling plaintively. And after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of his beak. He waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by anger, he dived at the fish. So children, derisively derise, that is derively, derisively, that means in a manner expressing contempt or ridicule, and that is plaintively means said. Utter means make a sound with one's voice. Halted means stopped. Then see, he cried in hunger, his mom, while his mother screamed back angrily. But he kept crying, with soon turned into a joyful screams at the sight of his mother's flying towards him with a piece of fish. He got excited, and as she came nearer and thus leaned forward, suddenly she stopped, and not too far from him. Out of excitement and hunger, he dived at the fish without realizing for a moment that he was afraid to fly. And you see, once he was afraid to fly, but he was very much hungry to support his belly over there, and you see, he dived over there. And with a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. Then monstrous terrors seized him, and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment he fell, his wings spread outwards. The wind rose against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of the wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Ga, 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 called out. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him, screaming. He saw his two brothers and sisters flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. So children, here monstrous means horrible, seize, grab, headlong. Headlong means with the head foremost, soaring, flying or rising high in the air. Swooped, especially of a bird, move rapidly downwards through the air. And curveting means perform a series of jumps on hind legs. And see what happened, children? He got so excited that he fell as soon as he tried. For a moment he was in shock and stood still out of terror. All this lasted only for a moment, and soon his feathers upon as a field. He could feel the wind against his breast, feathers, stomach and his wings. He could feel himself cutting through the air. He was not afraid anymore. He was just a bit nervous. But then his mother accompanied him. The whole family screams out of excitement, thus celebrating his victory over fear. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly and commanded himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. So children, shrinking means here making a high-pitched piercing cry or sound. Okay? Shrilly means loudly and forcefully. Ridges, R-I-D-G-S, ridges means a long, narrow hilltop, mountain range or watershed. Card means utter a card. That is the sound. Okay, then what happened? You see children, once he overcome his fear. Okay, he forgot that he was once afraid of it. He did all those things he once feared. He flew straight over the sea and could see the greenery and the mountains beneath him. He screamed out of joy as he enjoyed the victory. His parents and his brothers and sisters had landed on his green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise. Exhausted by the strange exercise, his feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly tossed it, and he sank no farther. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. So dear children, beckoning means here gesture. So when he landed, his family landed along with him as a gesture that they were proud. They were screaming and shouting in excitement in their high-pitched voices. He then went into the sea, where at first he got scared and thus panicked. He tried escaping but got tired and weak because of hunger. Thus when he calmed down, he started floating in the sea. He was once afraid of. His family was celebrating in excitement and upon him poured as praise. Finally, he had overcome his fear and made his first flight. So children, this is all about the story. Children, you see, so courage and confidence is needed to overcome anything. Remember this. So dear children, any trouble, anything you do, if you panic, if you fear, then you cannot progress ahead and you will lag behind. But you have to gather courage in your heart, and that will help you. With your confidence, that will help you to cross the danger, to cross the sea. This is all about it, children. God bless you all.